Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back bringing you some Honkai Star Rail. Obviously, disclaimer before we start the video: my thoughts are my thoughts, and your thoughts are your thoughts. Everything that I say should not be taken out of context, and we are still in the preliminary phase of these two characters specifically. So everything I say is still yet to be obviously proved until the live stream comes out in about 3 weeks. But with that said, let's get right into it. So obviously the main topic of discussion for today's video is going to be specifically talking about why I think Adventuring and Acheron are completely two different individuals, two different characters who might benefit different accounts depending on who you are as a player, whether you're an F2P player or a whale account player. So if you spend money for the game and you're willing to spend a bit extra for the game, then I think it's possible for you to be able to get both characters within both patches. But if you are a free-to-play player, I want to basically point out some things that I think one is better than the other. So one of the major things that I've noted down is that I think each of them have an advantage over the other, which is very obvious over the fact that Adventuring for one is a tank and Acheron is a DPS character, right? And what I think right now is the fact that I think if we break it down into small points, then I'll obviously cut it into the video. We can start with Adventuring. So one of the advantages of Adventuring over Acheron is that Adventuring can provide shields that stack up to allies, similar to what Japad does. But the only difference is, you see, whereas Japad needs his ult to generate that shield, you have someone like Adventuring who can constantly generate shields. So I'd say in terms of versatility and accessibility, I think it would be better to skip Acheron for an F2P account that doesn't have a good sustain. So if you don't have a limited 5-star character on your account, I think Adventuring would be a very good fit for that account because of the amount of sustain that he can give a character. Point number 2 for Adventuring is that because he's a tank character, actually irrespective of being a tank character, he can deal a significant amount of damage to opponents. Whereas if you look at someone like Japad, and the reason why I'm comparing him to Japad is because, you see, we can't even put Fushuan into this tier. And the reason why we can't put Fushuan into this tier is because the amount of tankiness that Fushuan brings to a team. Yes, she doesn't bring shields, but her kit is more, I'd say, long game oriented compared to now someone like Adventuring or Japad. So one of the major things that Adventuring brings to the table as a tank, as my second point, is the fact that irrespective of being a general skill alt, a general skill shield, how do I say this? A general shield skill character, his ultimate deals damage to the opponent and gives them crit damage. I think vulnerability. I think it was something like that. I don't know whether it was true or not. I think I've seen something like that, but his ult does give the opponent a debuff on top of the fact that he also does follow-up attacks that generate shields for him as well, and even the team. So that's one of the second reason why I think there is an advantage to pulling for Adventuring compared to Acheron. So, obviously, my third point, due to his kit being very versatile, Adventuring can be placed into numerous team compositions, and this is one of the things that's really disadvantageous for Acheron, and it's the fact that whereas Adventuring can be put on any team on any account, he will work because of the amount of sustain that he does, right? He's a tank character. And not only that, he's a very good tank character from what has been seen. Not only that, he can consistently build up and stack shields, which make it a very, very good thing for MOC and also simulated universe if you want to have a preservation run as opposed to other runs. Whereas with Acheron, you can't, in a realistic aspect, unless you have a Silver Wolf, you can't put her on a team that does not have an electric weakness to her or to her kit specifically. Not only that, obviously there's the whole limitation of having 2 Nihility characters, or if you get E2, you can obviously bring that down to 1 Nihility character. So I think that's the third point I have to make it very clear for Adventuring, is the fact that he's a very well-rounded character that can be placed on any account and be placed on any team. So those are the advantages I think that Adventuring has over Acheron. So now what advantages does Acheron have over Adventuring? So in terms of damage output, Acheron, I think, reigns supreme in terms of her kit. She excels in dealing like colossal, and I mean colossal, lightning damage or electric. I actually said electric before, but lightning damage. And obviously you can't compare the fact that she's a DPS to Adventuring. So you can't say that there's no way I can say the Adventuring will deal more damage than Acheron. Not possible. And that's one of the disadvantages I also have for Adventuring, that as much as he deals damage, he's mostly just applying a sort of debuff, whereas with Acheron it's pure, lightning damage. I am going to end this game as fast as possible. My second advantage for Acheron is that she will less likely be power crept quickly, as even Kafka right now is still an S tier character, Nihility specifically. So irrespective of summoning for her, I don't think, even just with the way her kit looks, irrespective of being as an F2P, I do not think that she's going to be power crept anytime soon. I think even when Sam comes out, his kit will be sort of on a similar level due to the fact that he's a destruction character. But you see, they've also put Acheron in a space where she needs a specific set, not planetary set or anything, but she needs a specific method to play her specifically so you can deal more damage, right? Now, my third point for advantage of Acheron over Adventuring is the fact that Acheron can be used as a primary or secondary DPS character in various team compositions. So irrespective of the fact that she's, just a lightning DPS, in the event that you have, say, a Ruin May, and you have Acheron on E2, right? You can definitely put her on a Ruin May team, and then probably even put her on a Silver Wolf team. But I think she would prevail more as a main DPS, and that's still questionable. I mean, we're yet to see what she does officially, because you see that there's so many changes that they're giving Acheron at the moment that people are covering on YouTube. So we don't know exactly how much she's going to be dealing once she actually comes out. So, but in 3 weeks, we are going to be seeing that. We're going to be seeing that information obviously go out. As said, as soon as possible. So my overall, I'd say 2 cents between choosing Acheron and Adventuring is that even if we overlook the fact that he has follow-up specifically for Adventuring, even if we overlook the fact that he has follow-up synergies with Topaz and Dr. Ratio, he can easily stack a massive amount of defense and grant you shields that are hard to chew through. And that's one of the major things about having a good sustain. Adventuring has, he automatically grants shields at the start of battle, and you don't even need to use a technique or an ultimate like Jeopard, right? While Adventuring doesn't have a cleanse on his kit like a harmony unit, like an abundance unit. I mean, the amount of effect, res, and defense that he gives a character is so substantial, as opposed to saying, okay, if I don't have good sustain on this account, I'm going to roll for Acheron just for the sake that she looks good. No, roll on your account to give you characters that make your account beneficial. So that's one of my major last points. So if you don't have, and one of the major things I want to bring up is, if you don't have a 5-star limited sustain unit, he's undoubtedly the character to go for. If you have just one limited sustain unit, he's still a strong consideration, if you happen to have 2 sustain units, really good 5-star limited sustain units, let's say a Luocha or a Huahua and a Fushuan, then I think you're really comfortable in your account. I think you don't need adventuring. But if you don't have any of those characters, then I think you do need to put him on your account. Acheron, on the other hand, is shaping up to be a very strong AoE DPS, right? Even at her E0, you can still build a team around her. I think the fact that she requires 2 Nihility characters as mentioned before, and enough debuffs on the team to maximize her damage output. So there's still an aspect of, there's a way you need to play around Acheron to enable her to build a lot of damage. So one way to do this as a speculation, I'd say, is you can create a free-to-play team around her in terms of Gwynaifen, Pella, and Galaga, and it would perform quite well, but Acheron can get much stronger if you have, say, a Silverwolf and a Pella in your party for that 100% defense shred. And that's why a lot of people were saying I would rather get her on an account with Silverwolf and Pella, as opposed to having her on an account with Kafka and Black Swan. When you completely negate enemies' defense, and also consider the fact that Acheron's ultimate ignores weakness types, you should be able to breeze through a lot of the content without worrying about shield types. So I think her pull value goes down a lot if you already have the likes of Kafka with Black Swan, or Jingyuan as a lightning DPS on your account. But if you don't have a strong lightning DPS, she can easily carry you through all content. So what I would suggest is, if you are starting an account as a free-to-play, you can get her, but you'd probably have to wait until a rerun of Silverwolf, because we definitely do get Pella during the course of the game, and it's easy to get Pella. But if you're starting an account specifically for Acheron, it might be hard. So my suggestions is that if we talk about pull value alone, adventuring gets my recommendation depending on your account, right? If you have, for example, one of my accounts only has a Black Swan and a Kafka as their main DPS, and I don't have good sustain, then I would say I'm not going to get Acheron on that account, because I need a sustain on that account, which would be adventuring. But if I go on my main account, where I've saved up about 230 pulls, and I have a Silverwolf and a Pella, as much as I was saving up for something else, I have to, compromise, and then, because I want to play the character and have the character, I will put her on that account with Silverwolf and Pella. And those are my 2 cents. That's what I think about the situation, and that's what I think about the difference between the both of them. I think both of them have their unique kits, but I think sometimes it's a bit obvious that as much as I want a high damage number DPS, sometimes a sustain, depending on your account, is what's needed specifically. All right. That's pretty much it. I hope you guys have a good day. If you have any comments or suggestions about what I've said, hit the comment below. And obviously, I'm very happy to talk about what I've just said on the comments, and also go further on what I think would be best.